Hi, this is Daniel DiTuro. Do you vote for candidates based on their accomplishments or political rhetoric? In this video, I'll share government of the people or special interest, no experience or education required, electing the wealthy to solve the problems of the poor, and rhetoric versus accomplishments. Voters should not be surprised they have dysfunctional state and federal government. Politicians serving powerful special interests have been an integral part of American politics for decades. While elected officials do not wear clothing advertising their benefactors, it should come as no surprise that money influences elections. With the high cost of campaigning for office, most candidates accept contributions from corporate political action committees. PACs fund politicians that are good for the company. What's good for the company, like deregulation, is not always good for consumers. There are special interests that write model legislation. One example, which most voters are unaware, is ALEC. ALEC claims to be nonpartisan, but most of its members are Republicans, while most of its funding comes from major corporations. As I've shared, what's good for corporations is not always good for consumers. It takes training and licensing to become a barber or hairstylist. No training or experience is required to be elected to public office, including president. The qualifications to run for public office are so minimal, an inexperienced celebrity or social media influencer can be elected mayor, governor, or president. Politicians cannot solve problems when they are unqualified to solve the problem. 40 years of trickle-down economics has neither balanced the budget, decreased the debt, or eliminate poverty. Politicians talk about stopping illegal immigration, while businesses profit by hiring undocumented workers. How can they secure the border when they don't know the difference between a wall and a fence? And no wall or fence will stop illegal drugs from coming across the border. Among major industrialized nations, the U.S. has one of the lowest tax rates and highest poverty rate. Decades of tax cuts have not increased savings, reduced debt, or eliminate poverty. About 10% of American households are millionaires. More than half of the members of Congress are millionaires. Is it any wonder legislation favors the wealthy, not workers? The federal minimum wage has been $7.25 per hour since July 2009. Conservative rationale is that raising the minimum wage eliminates jobs. They ignore the fact businesses have been eliminating jobs for decades. To increase profits, millions of high-paying jobs were eliminated through outsourcing. During the 2020 presidential campaign, Republican candidates boasted that President Trump lifted 650,000 Americans out of poverty. 650,000 Americans went from extremely poor to just plain poor and no longer qualified for government aid. Lifting people out of poverty means transferring aid to private charities instead of government. When was the last time you saw millionaires in line for food, clothing, or health care? Since most politicians accomplish little or nothing, they rely on rhetoric to get them elected. Common rhetoric includes cutting taxes, law and order, free enterprise, reducing or eliminating the debt, and reducing health care and prescription drug costs. About the only accomplishments over the past 40 years have been tax cuts, free enterprise, and deregulation. Voters love politicians promising to cut taxes. Taxes pay for a variety of services that most people take for granted. Dysfunctional politicians talk about law and order and then cut funding to make up for lower revenues. It's one thing to talk about infrastructure, and another thing having the revenue to build and maintain roads and bridges. Dysfunctional politicians talk about reducing the high cost of health care, and then oppose any legislation that reduces health care revenues. As long as voters elect politicians who benefit the wealthy and powerful, they should not be surprised they have dysfunctional government. Please leave a comment if you have any questions about this video. Thank you for watching.